He's known around the world as an investor on the hit television show Shark Tank. But Daymond John is, of course, much more. Whether it's running his company, writing a book, or working with a startup, he's an entrepreneur always in motion. Behind the Brand founder and host Brian Elliott sat down with John to discuss his success, failures, and what he thinks is the best formula for pitching ideas.
We're all born thinking like entrepreneurs. Families and friends convince you not to be an entrepreneur. True entrepreneurs will just keep figuring it out. If you pull up your car outside of a mall, you open your trunk and you were selling something for $1 and you sold 50 of them in 3 minutes, you close that trunk, you call me.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna sell those things out of every single mall, city, state, country. We're even gonna sell them on Mars if we can sell them that quick.
Hi, I'm Brian Elliott. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Brand. Today I'm here with entrepreneur Daymond John. Daymond, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How long do you give a good idea before you kind of cut bait? I mean, you know it's a viable thing. Maybe you're passionate about it, but how long do you give it before you're just like, this isn't working, we gotta give up and move on?
If it's going from an incubation stage, it can take 5-10 years because you start thinking about it year 1 and year 2 and year 3, you still are thinking about it and you're going, all right, this hasn't just gone away. This needs to happen.
Yeah.
And then, you start to learn the business with it and it can take 10 years.
Yeah.
If it's an opportunity where you're investing, it probably is a 3-year deal where you go, we've done everything, or I'm not interested in learning anymore. It's creating bigger challenges. I'm losing more in other places that I have already created. So I would say opportunities that come around every day, I would put 3 to 5 years in it. Long-term opportunities that you're thinking about, I would say 10 years.
So that works for you. You've got resources. So some of the people that are watching this show, they've got this startup. They're just bootstrapping. What advice would you give to them about how long to give a worthy project before they give up? I mean, I think it's something everyone struggles with.
Yeah, and that's a big challenge. So I would say for them to have milestones and for them to set their goals. So if there's somebody that, they have a day job and they plan on putting in 7 hours a week onto this side hustle, job, idea, concept, make sure that compounds, and over the year, how much time will you put into it, and at what stage would you like to see? Would you like to see the business grow from $1,000 a week to 5 or 10? But make sure it's affordable steps that you and goals that you feel you can hit, and then you'll realize if you're willing to put 1 year, 2 years, or 10 years into it. Some people just want to do it because they want to be an entrepreneur and they want to change the world and they just want to see things change. They don't have to make money.
That's what I was going to ask you. So what are some of those business milestones that you would recommend? So obviously revenue is great. When you've got sales and you've got demand and you're moving product, that's great. But maybe talk about some of those tougher to measure metrics for those people who are still hanging on.
The tougher to measure metrics are basically, I'm making $50,000 a year. If I put 2-3 hours of work and time into this a week, at the end of the year, will I make a certain amount of money, or at the end of the year, will I change somebody's life? It all depends on what are you in it for, because many entrepreneurs are into things for social reasons as well. So you just really have to put a metric on what are you looking for. At the end of the day, you're the customer.
Yeah.
What are you going to get out of it?
What mistakes have you made? I want to know, not from the perspective of, as a confessional, but more of, what's the hindsight? What did you learn?
What mistakes I made? We don't have enough time to go over them, but I'm going to go over a couple. I learned that we thought we were cool because FUBU was super fiery hot and we understood a lifestyle, so we thought that naturally we can go out and make an album, and we did. Not us singing, I'm talking about artists that we worked with, because we already dressed all the artists, we already knew all the artists, right? We were on half the video set, so creatively we understood it. But guess what? We didn't know the business behind it, so yeah, we sold 500,000 units of the album, but it cost us $5 million to make the album because we didn't know any better. Yeah. I learned at that time that, there's no shortcuts. That's it. We didn't hire a record executive. We didn't know our numbers. We didn't look at our numbers. We were spending money like drunken sailors. We were getting caught up. What was the reason we were doing it? Did we get exposure? Yes. But from the business model, we died, right? So, I learned that mistake. I learned that unless we have goals set, you don't know what you're doing. I learned that when money came into the company, I would give friends, you know, here's a $100,000 raise, here's a $200,000 raise. I learned that if you don't have a set formula in your company and you're doing $10 million of business and your, let's say your salaries are $1 million, if you go out giving everybody money, before you know it, next year, your salaries are $2.5 million, you're only doing $12 million in business. I've learned to come up with a formula. Give people anywhere from 5% to 10% raise. You know that if your salaries are $1 million, you know next year it's $1 million plus an average of 7.5%. I learned all these things.
Kind of standardizing them.
Just standardizing and coming up with formulas, you know, and learning sometimes when to quit. You know, when to write it off. We're not good at this, you know.